Welcome to Lean IT Foundations Training. In today's course, we will begin in Section 3, Dimensions of Lean IT, B, Process. Section 3B, Lean IT, Process. I am your speaker, Anthony McCollum, and I am a Process Improvement Specialist. We are currently going over the 5 dimensions of Lean IT. We started off by reviewing customers. Today we will review process. In the next sessions, we will review organization, performance, behavior, and attitude. Let's take a closer look at process as a dimension of Lean IT. We start by defining process with looking at an actual process map. An IT process is a series of steps taken to deliver a product or service to the customer. If we think about it, everything we do in life is a process. We get out of bed in the morning, make a cup of coffee, get dressed, go to work. That's a process. Arrive to work, say hi to Bob, sit down at our desk, turn our computer on. This is all a process. Let's go over a process a lot of us are familiar with. In the previous session, we did take a trip to Jamba Juice to identify value that we saw while we were visiting the store. Let's go back to Jamba Juice in this example, and we won't be looking at value, but what we'll be looking at is the process that we went through as a customer. We arrived at Jamba Juice and stood in line. We picked out what we wanted and placed our order. Then we had a tandem process. While the person at Jamba Juice was making our smoothie, we as customers waited and eventually received our refreshing beverage. Processes come in all shapes and sizes, and we can do all sorts of process maps to identify the process that we are going through. We just took a look at a very basic process map. Now what we will do is expound on this and create, at a certain level, a value stream map. A value stream map is simply a process map with much more detail. What a value stream map does is it actually applies values to the process flow. So for example, in the very first step, where we arrived as customers and stood in line, what we can do is assign some values to that. For example, a customer stands in line on average for 10 minutes. We can even understand what the inventory of that line is on average at a particular time of the day. For example, we can say that a customer stands in line for 10 minutes when there is an average of 12 people in inventory or in line at any given hour of the day. And we can even note how many resources we need in order to provide a certain level of service within our value stream map. These types of principles can be applied to your value stream map in any level of detail you see fit, or that should be required for the process you are working on. For the purposes, all practical purposes of types of value stream maps that we will be reviewing in this course and generally need on a day-to-day business management basis, this is just about the level of detail you may need to go into. We won't be reviewing the traditional value stream maps you may see when you Google the term. There's a lot of symbols, a lot of moving pieces to those, and for the practical everyday process improvement individual working on a project, this is good enough. Assigning some sort of value so that when someone reads your process map, reads your value stream map that you've created, they have a sense of what is going on within your process. That's the main goal behind the value stream map. Value stream maps can even be taken at a much higher level. For example, if we're going to get a smoothie at the end of our value stream, that's what our customers are receiving. Well, that started with fruit at one point. Someone had to actually pick that fruit. That fruit had to then be loaded onto a truck and driven to a Jamba Juice store. That Jamba Juice store then converted that fruit into a refreshing beverage. There are all types of process maps. And again, it's important to identify the type of process map that you need. And then another good rule of thumb when creating your process map is to start at a high level, or what I like to call the 30,000-foot view of your process map. To study very high level, simplistic process flow, what is the process you are working on from beginning to end? Working on a process map at this level of detail should only take you about 10 to 15 minutes to accomplish. We all know at a high level our business. What happens before us, what happens after us. We can then zoom in and do the bird's eye view, get a little bit closer, spend a little bit more time and add in a little bit more detail about that particular process flow. The more detail you provide in your process map, the better it will help you in your process improvement project. And then we can even get down to the floor level view, the ground view. This is the nitty-gritty process map, the one with the specific details about each step, every single cue, every time your product stops and starts moving again. Every time a customer has to wait for something, this floor level view process map will capture that. At this level of process mapping may actually take several days working with multiple people, not just within your team, but you will have to go outside of the lines to fully understand this level of detail within your process map. This is the traditional value stream map I mentioned. As you can see, there are a lot of technical symbols here that apply. And again, it's good if you want to study these, please go ahead and do some research. It's good to familiarize yourself with the traditional value stream maps, the traditional terms that you would need. But again, for all practical purposes that you would need for working on your process improvement project, all you really need to do is understand, A, how to make a process map, and just apply some value to that process map. So let's talk about our value stream. Again, the point of the value stream, right, is to create value for our customers. We must understand our process in order to do this. This is why it's important to create a process map and a value stream map. This will also help us perform our process correctly. A lot of times, products, services may go through a certain level of approvals or quality checks for the simple reason that one day, 3 years ago, someone asked me to do it. But we don't necessarily need to do it anymore. So it's very important that we understand our process and that we're performing that process correctly, in the correct order, and on time. So let's think for a second, where does your value stream map start? Where does your value stream map end? And what step of the value stream are you? All organizations primarily have three main processes: design, delivery, and support. The same lands true for an IT organization as well. We may change these terms up a little bit. Product and service development, production and delivery, service and support. Let's move on a little bit and talk about how we can use some lean tools to help us manage our process flows. To do this, we're going to be introduced into another lean term. That term is KanBan. KanBan is a Japanese term which actually stands for signboard, if we were to translate this. A signboard is an approach to change management. Kanban is a way of creating what's called a pull system. A pull system is a way of creating a visual workflow to help us limit our work in process and measure everything that's moving through our value chain. And the other side to a Kanban is a visual management board, which helps us to actually manage this. We will review both of these pull systems and visual management boards on the next few slides. Let's first discuss push versus pull. In a push production, production is completed right before the customer actually orders it. That's what we mean by pushing a product to the customer. In a pull system, we won't actually make something until the customer requests it, or in essence, pulling it through our value stream. In a push system, we'll always find inventory. In a pull system, all we need is a little bit of buffer stock in order to get the job done. Push systems uniquely have a batch and queue system or model developed within them. The ideal pull system will have a single piece flow without any bottlenecks. Things will be made as they're needed. Here's just a picture to help us showcase what a push versus pull system may look like. So if we have a push system and we want to create a pull system, one of the easiest tools we can do this is through the use of Kanban cards. These are examples of Kanban cards. There's no one way to make a Kanban card. There's just some essential features of a Kanban card, like the description of the product, part numbers, who to reorder this particular part from, and you can actually have that person's phone number on the actual Kanban card. The concept here within managing inventory or managing products as they move through your production line, as they move through your value stream, is that when you need to reorder a part, when you need to order more things, the Kanban card will be revealed. And that is your signal to go ahead and then order more of those items. So in this particular example, these training manuals are in a case. And what we can see here is at the back of the case is the Kanban card. Once that Kanban card is revealed after the last item is pulled out, the next user who approaches this case will take that Kanban card and go through the ordering process. This will make sure that we never run out of inventory. And it will also ensure that we are never holding too much inventory in stock. Here's just another picture or example of a Kanban card sitting on a shelf indicating that it's time to order more of these particular types of parts. Here's a great example of a Kanban that we might be able to use in our workplace, right? Whenever we're running low on K-Cups over by the coffee machine, we can throw a Kanban card in there and say, hey, it's time to order more Donut Shop K-Cups. Now let's talk about Kanban in the signboard aspect. In this aspect, what we're going to do is use Kanban to help us manage a process or a flow of a process, or just a process improvement project. Now, I'm sure this happens to all of us. We have a lot to do. We have a lot of things that we're doing, and we have barely anything done. A Kanban board is a tool which helps us to manage the flow of action items to ensure that we never take too many things on and never wind up accomplishing anything. Here's how a Kanban board works. On the left of your Kanban board, you're going to have a lot of to-do items. These to-do items can be indicated by Post-it notes, or if you can have a digital inbox for your Kanban board as well. The colors on these Post-it notes actually will mean something. They can mean a person, or they can mean a particular product or a project that someone is working on. In the doing section, what you need to do is identify your capacity. How many of these Post-it notes on the left can one person work on at a time? And you never have in the doing column more things than you can do or work on at a single time. So if I have the capacity for 2 items, I will pull 2 blue Post-it notes from the to-do and move those 2 Post-it notes to the doing. Once I complete one of my action items, I will move that Post-it note over to the done. I will take another Post-it note from the do and replace it in the doing. So I always know exactly what I'm working on, and I have the capacity to work on that project. This is just another example of a Kanban board. Again, there's no one way to make these boards. We just make these boards so that they fit your process. Now, moving on from Kanban and focusing back more on the process itself, how do we actually wind up creating this value stream map and using these Kanban boards to help us manage this particular tool? Well, again, we want to make sure that we understand the voice of the customer, and we can use our critical to quality tree to do that. We can fill out our SIPOC diagrams. This will all help us create the visual management system and the value stream map that we need for the process. We need to understand and collect timing. How long does it take us to do each step? You can do this with stopwatches, or if you have data that has good check-in and check-out points. Now, don't panic. The good thing is you already know a lot about the particular process that you live, breathe, and work in every single day. The most important thing to remember when making a process map is to keep it simple. Start off high level. Fill out that 30,000-foot view before you move on to the detailed view. Fill it in as you go along. Here's a list of some helpful questions to ask yourself while you're going through the steps of creating your value stream map. Let's do a quick knowledge check on process. What is the purpose of a Kanban card? A, to communicate the status of a product or service to the customer. B, to inform the process about the status of the product or service. C, to visualize the loopholes in the process. Or D, a manual backup system for the computer system files. And the answer here is B. Now make sure that during the production process, information is added to the Kanban card, accurately showing the status of the particular product. What's next? In a pull system, what does an empty slot mean? A, it means the Kanban card doesn't work. B, it means there's a problem down the production line. C, it's time to replenish it's a replenishment signal. Or D, it is the same as an andon. And the answer here is C. An empty slot in a Kanban system simply is a sign to replenish whatever is missing. This completes 3B in Lean IT Dimensions process.